I have been cancer-free for 6 years now. I had my last cancer check with my oncologist, and he didn't say my cancer was in remission. He said, my cancer is virtually cured. I said, okay.
Let me share my story and tell you why research is such an important part of why I think our community should be involved.
I'm here to talk about cancer and how it relates and how it is seen among some of the immigrant communities that I represent and I'm a part of.
I'm very, very, very passionate about getting more of my generation to participate.
Why is it so important to engage in research? And how do we motivate our community to move forward in that process of greater engagement?
Your concern for your family, for generation past and future, should lead you to start thinking more about your body as a way, as a gift to not just to past ancestors, but also to the future generation.
Within our community, I think it's important for us to start to address those hesitancies and openly talk with each other about why there are hesitancies and challenges with engaging in the research process. Sometimes it may just be that the research isn't spelled out for us and we don't understand it enough to have an interest in engaging with it. Other times there may be some legitimate underlying cultural and historical context issues that make us feel it's safer to not be in that research environment.
Yeah. We care about our health, we care about the future of our children, we care about the future of our families, but all of this research work takes time and it deviates from us building our families and building careers for ourselves. So the key is helping people in our communities understand that this is just as important for the future of our children as everything else that we are doing for the future of our children.
For those who are spiritually inclined, whether they're Muslim or Christian or whatever denomination they are, I tend to also remind them that God who made our bodies created that as a resource to be managed, to be taken care of.
And I am thinking that over the years, while as a Christian, that's right to pray about it because my faith encouraged me to pray about everything. It also encourages me to go seek health care.
My belief in doing good and causing no harm has really motivated me to pursue research and also participate in research. Maybe this information won't be helpful for us, but it'll be helpful for our kids, the future generations. That has really pushed me to be like, okay, we need to figure this out. We need to start building that foundation so we have this information in the future. Because a lot of the information we have now, it's based in one kind of view, one type of population.
I am just a huge advocate of having as many Black and brown bodies, people of color, involved in as many different kinds of research that's available for one simple reason. All of the research that is done affects all of us universally.
By the time y'all come up with answers and solutions, I'm gone. But my kids will be here. Yeah. My grandkids will be here. My neighbor's kids and my neighbor's grandkids will be here. This research is for them.
When we don't have information about other people, about Black people or other peoples of color, we're really missing out on what could be helpful for us and what's useful for us and what's unique to us.
Many people would say that there's some fear or some concerns related to the research process that allows that community to feel like it's not the best environment for them to be in. And I think it's important to address that within our community and to really start to speak to what the concerns and challenges are when it comes to engaging in research. So I think assuming and saying something like Black and African American people don't engage in research gives people that outlet to say they don't want to be a part of that research. And instead we should start to frame that question a little differently and ask ourselves, how can Black and African American people engage more in research?
I don't necessarily believe it's centered around fear, and I don't necessarily believe it's centered around past and current history context as much as trying to squeeze it in to the busyness of our day and our survivorship and trying to build something for our futures. If we're really trying to reach our communities, our Black and African American communities, and other communities that don't necessarily have a large population in research, we have to find a better way of bringing that research to the community instead of expecting the community to come to the research. You find who the community leaders are, you find who the respectable people are that people will listen to. You connect with those individuals, you build a relationship with them, and they will bring the community to you. If you just randomly say, why isn't everybody doing this or why isn't everybody doing that? Well, it's because you haven't made the effort to get to know the community as a whole. And that all takes time.
It's interesting you brought about participation. The simple truth is I was talking to some people in the community of recent, and part of what they say is we've never been invited. So the invitation isn't there. At times, even if some may want to participate, they don't know where and how to go and be participants. So this idea of working with OHSU on this research, community research thing, it's really will open the community up, hopefully, to start participating in research. And I think it's a beautiful thing. It will be a wonderful thing. It's just that it will be a lot of talking, hand holding, barrier to break, and so on. But personally, I feel it's worth going all the way, breaking barriers, talking, bringing everybody on.
When I started working there and I started seeing most of the sickle cell patients, there was this kind of change in dynamics where people were starting to apply for things and be interested in some of the research and some of the quality improvement stuff we had going on. And I remember my 4 Caucasian colleagues, providers, and the one Asian one reached out to me and said, what's going on? How come you're getting people to sign up for things? And we've had such a hard time at it. And I said this, kind of jokingly, but it really was in all sincerity. I said, hey, you know what it is? It's because I'm Black. And they were like, "That what? No, what? Don't be ridiculous. What's the real reason?" And I said, it's because I'm seen as a member of that community.
Right.
And the people in that community trust somebody from that community.
Correct.
And when we have those conversations, I'm having those conversations at their level. And that is something that allows them to engage with that process and to have an interest in that opportunity, right? And I think one of the things that is really easily overlooked is that when you are making sure that that process of engaging people in research starts from within the community, also recognizing and appreciating where that community is at, right? And we talked about that earlier, right? Like,
absolutely.
Are we assuming that everybody who's Black or African American is afraid of research, right? If we're assuming that, that's a big problem because most of us would disagree with that and would say, it's not that I'm afraid of the research, it's that I don't know what the crap's going on with the research. And I also have a really full schedule and I have 4 kids and 2 jobs and et cetera, right? Like we would give you probably all the other reasons beyond fear of engagement. So knowing where that community is at and approaching them from that point is a really big thing.
But doesn't that play into what I talked about? If you don't know the community, you make all kinds of assumptions about that community. So from what I heard from you is we have researchers, not just sickle cell, but researchers who make assumptions about particular communities because they're not a part of it. Or they haven't made themselves a part of it. Until you make yourself a part of something and understand how a community ticks, it's easier to stand in an office and look at a bunch of papers and numbers and say, this community is not interested in this. But what have you done to engage and to be part of that community? It always goes back, in my experience as a Black member of our community, it all goes back to time. It all goes back to time, figuring out how to weave in a person's time, aligning with the research and accommodating and understanding and appreciate the time of the individual and the family. If you can get those to kind of correlate with each other, then you have a better chance of getting the Black and African community members to be on board about research. That's another piece that is overlooked, is there are people who have or are experiencing in their family a lot of health issues, and some of those health issues involve cancer, and they don't want to relive those again.
Yeah.
They don't want to walk through those paths again. They would rather be happy they came out of it and move on. So I was a person who was happy to come out of it, move on, and not have to think about it and live my life. Now, as I have passed through my own personal journey and I'm ready to do what I can, now I am. But not everybody's ready. That's a piece to understand. Don't push people if they're not ready to. If it's a no, it's a no.
Yeah.
You don't have to ask. They don't have to tell you. It's just a no, and then you keep going until you find those yeses. So that's another thing to remember. We never know a person's journey, and they never have to share it if they don't want to. But we honor and respect that space that person is in, and we keep moving, we keep pushing, we keep trying to impact what we can during research.
It's important to engage in research because it really sets an example for the rest of the community, right? Not just our community, but those other communities that are marginalized and don't have the bandwidth to attend these things. When we engage in research, we set that example to show, hey, this is possible. And this is something that we need to put at high importance.
I've had 50 good years. I'm not going to get another 50 good years. So what am I going to do with the time that I have left?